This show is brought to you by Whatever You Say Productions, starting conversations since 2018.
Yay!
Woo! What a starter to an episode.
We're all tired, but you know what? Welcome and welcome back to episode 23 of Dicks and Politics. We have a very special guest with us today. Of course, there's me, Samantha.
And me, Aurora.
And we also have...
Daryn Carp! Come on down!
Daryn.
I've never had to introduce myself before, but I feel like I gave myself a standing ovation.
You did, and it's well deserved. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're tickled to have you.
My pleasure. Always nice to join the WISP Productions, as I like calling you guys.
Thank you. Well, I have to give you a big thank you, not only for calling us WISP Productions, I'll take it, but also because, Daryn, if it weren't for you, I would never have met Aurora. So
walk me through that story again.
So Aurora is one of your listeners on Martinis and Murder.
Aurora is a very good listener. Aurora's my favorite listener.
Well, stop it. You're just saying that.
No, best name fan, too.
So when you came on for episode whatever, I think it was episode 8 or something like that, where I basically sat there and cackled the entire time.
Literally just laughed on the floor while I ate Doritos. Like, I probably said 3 words that entire episode because we were just all dumbfounded. You were just like laughing like to yourself. Like no one knew the joke. We were all looking at each other like, what? You were in a fit.
I know I was, but
it's nice to see.
Well, you did a promo, and you were like, yay, I'm doing Dicks and Politics. And Aurora was like, wow, a podcast called Dicks and Politics. What could be wrong with that?
Yeah.
And
so true.
So then, Aurora, I'll let you take the story from there.
So then I started listening in on Dicks and Politics. I fell in love with everyone, and I kind of started listening every week. And then Sam commented on one of my Instagram pictures, and then I commented back, and we started chatting. And then the next episode, they were talking about Brexit. So they said, if you have any kind of relationship with Brexit, or if you've experienced it or whatever, hit us up, and we can talk about it. So I slid into the DMs, of course.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, hey, I live in the UK. I'm not from here. We can talk about this. So yeah, the rest is history, I guess. But
I had her on, and then I hired her. Like, the second the interview ended, I'm like, would you join us? And she's like, fuck yeah, I will. So now, so here
That's
we are.
awesome.
So thank you.
You're international now, Sam.
I am international. We have 2 people over in the UK now. We've got Aurora that does Dicks and Politics, and then we've got Steven that does Game Over. So I'm a global CEO. Look out!
That's right, baby.
As I sit here in my parents' home.
Well, Aurora, thank you so much for listening to my own podcast, Martinis and Murder. Just plugging it one more time.
Anytime. I love it.
So here's what we're going to cover in this episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Mueller Report and, of course, what happened with Notre Dame Cathedral. And then there were protests for climate change over in London. We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Then we're going to talk about Coachella because...
the whitest thing on earth.
Yeah. And then we're going to have Mike Kitlas from It's Bro Time join us to, of course, give us a sports rundown later. And then we're going to talk about Daryn's new show because Daryn is just a woman of a million different talents. You're just, you're my role model. I want to be you, but I'm not.
Yeah, right.
But I can't. But anyways, let's get into it, you guys. Our first segment, What's Burning? So the Mueller Report, which is sort of just like the thing that everyone is talking about and that won't go away, was a huge topic of discussion this week. Daryn, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I know you feel very passionately about Trump.
Well, I'm into politics, of course. I think that the Mueller Report isn't going to have anything. I think that the liberals and the Democrats are really like holding on to the Mueller Report is going to be sort of their golden ticket into getting Trump out of office. And I'm just not that optimistic about that whole thing. I basically think, and listen, I'm not going to read the 450-page Mueller Report. I probably wouldn't even understand half of it. I mean, obviously, I'm not sure even how much is redacted, although everything that was said in grand jury had to be redacted. But from what I can sort of gather from news, I talked about this with my dad last night at our Passover dinner. I gather that basically, what the Mueller report is saying is he didn't necessarily commit a crime that we can pinpoint to say, okay, he did X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
But pretty much up until that point, he smells like shit. He's done everything up into the point of that we can say, okay, that's a crime. Now, also, to be fair, he's coming out and saying, this totally vindicates me. I feel validated. There was no obstruction of justice. Mueller did say, if there was no obstruction of justice, we would say that there's no obstruction of justice, and we're not saying that.
Right.
So I think that Trump is trying to divert something that I think he knows he's going to look bad in. But let's let all the smart people in the world who want to read the report and get back to us. Now, keep in mind that just because it's a report, Fox News is going to report something different than the New York Times and the National Enquirer, that, Wall Street Journal. And so I think it's important, especially for no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, to read multiple different accounts.
Yes.
That way you just have a little bit of a flavor of how different text could be interpreted.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I feel about it. I don't think it's going to be anything to impeach him over.
No, I would agree with you on that. I would definitely agree with you. And I think that it's sort of, I don't know if I'm phrasing this correctly, but I almost feel like it kind of levels the playing field a bit. It's sort of puts, and I don't want to say Republicans because that's not fair, because it's not every Republican that's like, oh, Trump's it, I want to say, it sort of puts Trump supporters a little bit, it knocks them down a few pegs, because everything that we thought was maybe happening, oh, we're not sure, has basically been confirmed that yes, it did, or something very close to it did occur. So It kind of knocks them down a little bit. But I also hope that non-Trump supporters will take this opportunity to not come out guns a-blazing, hot and ready to yell. And let's really look at what we have going on right now with this administration and with this presidency.
But realistically, can you see that happening? Because I don't think that Trump really set that precedent for his constituency. He should have said when it came out, maybe that he wasn't committed of a crime. He should have said something to unify, I think, the nation at that point. It would have been a really good opportunity for him to say, listen, now that this is behind us, I really hope that we can move forward with this as a nation united. And he didn't do that. He was like, me, I'm validated. You guys all suck.
Well, because he likes to make everything a win for him. I mean, it was so funny. You called it when last time we had you on the show, we were dealing with the government shutdown. And you're like, listen, crystal ball, here's what's going to happen. It's going to end. Sooner rather than later, it's going to end. He's going to find a way to spin it as a win for him, but it's not a win for him. So, of course, no, I don't expect that his supporters will behave that way. And I don't expect ever that he will encourage them to do so.
This is a really good opportunity, I think, for the Democrats and the liberals. And I don't necessarily mean to conflate the two, but I just think that for ease of it, I mean, you guys, the left, I think it's a really good opportunity to say to yourself, listen, we have the first debates in June, put up candidates that are, it's not just going to be Mueller report.
Right.
It's not just going to be, identity politics. The left isn't going to win with a Bernie Sanders or a Kamala Harris or an Elizabeth Warren. Pete Buttigieg seems pretty interesting right now. He's gay, he's a vet, he's a mayor, he's held office, he seems very likable. I think this is a good opportunity for the lefts to really analyze how they want to tackle this, because I got to say, after 2016, I think Trump has 6 more years in him. And it's sort of his race to win unless the left can really unify and figure out, how to reach the most amount of people and what they want.
When Trump leaves office, which
he could squat in it. I mean, he could get another 4 years, which is fine. But then after the 8 years, he could just squat and probably not leave office. I mean, I could sort of see that happening, which is a little frightening, but
But here's my question is, what's going to happen to him when he is no longer our president? Is he going to be indicted? Is he going to be is he going to go to jail? Or is he going to manage, just like he's managing through his presidency, to just sort of sail through and explain everything away? And twist it around so that he, quote unquote, stays on top, comes out on top. Do you think he'll be able to do that once he becomes a private citizen again? Or do you think that the justice system in the United States is going to hold him accountable for his actions?
I think you can only be held accountable for actions that you can be proven to be held accountable for. I mean, I think it's easy for us, on a different side of politics to say like, oh, he's easing through and he's just saying it as a win. I think he's absolutely terrified. I think there's no one that knows better than him that how unfit he is to be president.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he really knows that. Trump denying everything and sort of the Jussie Smollett thing of saying like, I'm going to double down on this and hope that it goes away. I think as a private citizen, when he realizes that no one will, I'm hoping, certainly in New York City where he lives, no one will continue to give a shit about him, that he will hopefully retreat into a life of solitude, but that won't happen.
No, it won't. I'm interested to see if he'll write a book or if he'll do it. Yeah.
Well, you should put right
a
air quotes.
documentary.
Yeah, well, right.
Oh, there'll be that for sure.
I'm hoping
yeah.
that, like, behind the scenes now, he's filming every moment of his life, and then hopefully 4 years from when he went into office, but maybe 8 years later, he'll be like, surprise, this is my experience. Keeping up with the Trumps.
Money, he will, yeah.
Speaking of actual tragedies, Notre Dame Cathedral, oh my God. I mean, I was right in the middle of a meeting when I found out what was happening. Aurora, where were you? Because it was sort of the early evening for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just at home. I'd just come home from work. I was watching reruns of Jane the Virgin, which is incredible, by the way. Everyone
yes.
Watch it. And yeah, I just got a notification on my phone because I get BBC and CNN notifications, and within seconds of each other, they both sent out pretty much the same thing, saying Notre Dame is in flames, which is
Aurora,
heartbreaking.
have you been to Notre Dame?
Yeah, I've been to Paris a couple of times, and I stayed on the island right next to Notre Dame. So I've seen it, and it's such a gorgeous church. But the kind of silver lining is they managed to save the majority. Most of it. Yeah. Also, I saw this story, and it was really, really it touched my heart. There were 200,000 bees at the top of the church that survived.
I know.
Bees?
Bees.
The keeper was so worried about it because he's keeping it, and the police wouldn't tell him if his bees were okay.
I know.
But then they ended up being okay.
They were okay. The bees were okay.
It was so sweet.
I'm gonna cry.
That touched my heart. And obviously it is heartbreaking because it's such a symbol of France, and it's such a symbol of everything that they stand for and their culture and their history. But I was talking to a friend at work who is from France, actually, and she was saying that this will actually bring a lot of work to artisans in the local area who have kind of studied their entire life for this, and they'll now be able to work on such an incredible project.
Absolutely.
And I think another thing
there's already like $700 million donated to that place.
So. Which is ridiculous.
Right before we recorded this, I was recording with the guys from Game Over, and we were discussing how Ubisoft, which is a French, it's a developer for video games, and one of their games, I think it was the Assassin's Creed game, they had an artist that works for their company that spent 2 years taking 3D photos of Notre Dame and recreating it in a three-dimensional sense for that game. So not only are they donating close to $500,000 US, but they also, thank goodness, they have all those renderings, because that's going to be really helpful for all the architects and the artisans to understand sort of the space between the different columns and all the different measurements. And it was just awful. It was absolutely awful. I've been to Notre Dame. I was there when I was 8 years old with my mother, and I remember going there, and we're certainly not religious, but you can absolutely appreciate, when you're there. It's breathtaking. It's overwhelming. It's a symbol of faith. It's a symbol of artistry and architecture. And it's serious, historical, landmark that's been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. Daryn, have you been to Notre Dame?
Many times. I love it. I went on I ever went was a teen tour when I was in high school. And then My girlfriend travels to Paris about all the time, like every month. So we're there quite a bit. And it's just a gorgeous cathedral. I mean, certainly I'm not religious at all, but just like architecturally and structurally, it's just such a symbol. It's such a beacon of everything in Paris. And I'm glad it's going to be restored. I'm kind of hoping, my uncle was saying, because he's in construction, it'd be cool if it was like a constant live feed of the construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he could go down and he could always kind of like stream into it. So considering it's the 21st century, that would be like really cool for people around the globe who just could never see it.
Even though the spire went down. Is that what it's called? A spire?
Yeah, the spire.
Okay, so the spire went down, but the stained glass window is okay. The bees are okay. And I don't think what was it, like one firefighter was injured, but other than that, nobody was hurt. Most of the sculptures were out. The artwork was out.
No one died or anything like that, which was
No.
Yeah. Well, great. So, Aurora, there have been some marches going on for climate change over in London. What the heck is happening over there?
Yeah, so it's a movement called Extinction Rebellion, and they've kind of taken over London, really. So they've affected loads of public transport in central London. Oxford Circus, which is like the main hub for kind of the shopping district here in London, has been shut down. So no buses have been able to go through for the past 3 days. They just cleared it out this afternoon, actually, and this is Saturday today when we're recording. But yeah, I think it's a great movement, and we should raise awareness for how badly climate change is changing our world. But it's kind of been an intense way to spread that message. So yeah, like I said, they've kind of taken over Oxford Circus, which is such a main hub. They have completely taken over Waterloo Bridge, which is one of the main bridges on here in London, and they've kind of just camped out. They're doing loads of like demonstrations and stuff like that.
Is it a new movement, or is it just like okay, so
yeah,
it's brand.
They're new. And it's pretty much to raise awareness ahead of the EU elections that are going to be happening on the 23rd of May, just to kind of entice people to vote for more greener parties and people who put forward more ideas about promoting climate change and how we can sort of retract it. But one story that really got me was a guy who superglued himself to a train to raise awareness. So he literally he put a sign next to him saying, "I'm super glued, please don't pull me." And yeah, he was just super glued to a train there, so they had to stop the entire line and stuff.
Yikes.
But I'm all for it. I think we should really raise awareness, and what we can do in our small kind of circle of the pond to help, I think we should. I've just switched to renewable energy in my apartment, and I've like been telling everyone because I'm like, we really need to do something. So yeah, no, I'm all for it.
Have are there protests going on like all day and night, or are they just organized like during the week? What's the?
Yeah, all day and night. It's been going on since Tuesday. And yeah, they're pretty much just there camping out. It has been the police have gone really hard on them. They've been removing loads of people. And they actually stopped protesting in Oxford Circus because the police removed them, but they were threatening to affect Heathrow Airport over Easter holiday weekend just because they wanted to kind of spread the message. But the police here in the UK were told to use the full force of the law, whatever that means. So
jeez.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're going on all day and all night until they can, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that's happening. And this is why we have our other podcast, Microscope. Yeah, well, I think that's fantastic. Good for them. Good on them.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've been so serious, ladies. We've been so freaking serious.
This is like when your grandma voice comes out and you're like, all right, girls, let's do cookies and milk.
Girls. Well, I'm excited to talk about Coachella as we all collectively roll our eyes. So let's get into it. Our next segment, hashtag. Daryn, what did you call Coachella?
The whitest thing on earth. Apparently, Homecoming, the new documentary from Beyonce, is all about how she's bringing Black culture to Coachella. So I just haven't seen it yet to have an opinion on it. But I just always think Coachella, I mean, I sort of mean this facetiously, but, you know, Jimmy Kimmel does this bit, like usually every year during Coachella, where like a man on the street will go interview some like hippie white chicks from Laurel Canyon, and they're like, oh, did you like underwear shirt today? And they're like, yeah, man, that band was great. And they never
Yeah.
played. And like, everyone's
They
just about
don't
like
even exist.
Instagram. Yeah, they don't even exist. And everyone's just like
Those are
obsessed with
some
like
of my
Instagram.
favorite videos ever. They're
Me
like,
too.
oh my God, yeah, they were incredible. Like that bass. And it's like, who are they? They don't exist.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
God.
Exactly. And I just think that's so clever. And that's kind of how I think of it when I think of Coachella.
Well, Adriana and I were going through the like Coachella hashtag and we were looking at all the outfits. Quite some looks this year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, always, which is like I always celebrate originality, but the thing is like there's nothing original about it anymore. But I will say, I did wait up for Ariana Grande's performance. I feel so bad for her because her was right before Ariana, and the stream was just a little bit slower than what was happening live. So all the millions of people that were trying to watch it on YouTube were like, "Get her off the stage!" Blah blah
Oh,
blah.
my
And
God.
people that were at Coachella were tweeting. They're like, "No, don't worry. Ariana's here. Everything's on time. There's just a lag on the stream." So Ariana Grande, she killed it, man. She really killed it. She brought NSYNC out with her. She brought Diddy out. She brought Nicki Minaj. And
She didn't bring Justin Timberlake, though, right? It was everyone but Justin.
Yeah, it was the
yeah.
B-list in sync.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, hey, not bad. I'm just saying.
No.
Let's be clear, Sam.
Sorry. Well,
Hey.
I don't even say. I'll be honest with you. Like Justin Timberlake, I'm over you, man. I'm over you. Your Man in the Woods album, you went around and you made such a big bing bong about it, and it sucked and it flopped.
It was terrible.
And
Bing bong.
he has such a bad attitude about being associated with the people that were the gentlemen that were in sync with him, and I don't like that. Every single time they're given an opportunity to do this, that, or the other, he doesn't take it. The only thing he's done with them is their little Hollywood Walk of Fame. They finally got a star, and then he was nice enough to bring them all over to the Ellen show. Other than that, like, he's just... So anyways, moving away from Justin Timberlake, I want to focus on the guys. You could definitely tell that JC was really nervous when they first came out. He was a little bit pitchy. You could see it, like you can usually see it in their eyes and their body language. Even if they are dancing and they are moving around, you can always tell when someone's nervous. But then they all loosened up. The guys looked great. They sounded great. Then later on in the performance, Nicki Minaj comes out. So first of all, I don't know how many cameramen they had on Ariana, but the one cameraman that they cut to got Nicki at the most unflattering, and she's beautiful, but the most unflattering angle of her before she even got up on the stage. So it, like, for the people that were watching the live stream, it kind of ruined the surprise for us. Like, we were all hoping that Nicki Minaj would come out, but we didn't know for sure that she would. And then all of a sudden she's there. Girls, let me tell you, her in-ears and Ariana's both stopped working. Now, in-ears are tough because, first of all, they're super uncomfortable. Second of all, most of them are like connected by Bluetooth, so they can drop, they can go out. And what I loved about that moment was Nicki's trying to rap. She's trying to give it her all, but she can't hear herself. And as you guys know, there's a huge lag between when they're saying something and when we can actually hear it. It's at least a half a second to a second long. What I loved about that moment was Ariana was doing everything she could. She was like eye to eye with Nicki, doing everything she could to just keep Nicki focused. She's trying to, give her the beat. She said into her mic, like, we can't hear anything. And then when it was all over, because you could tell Nicki was really embarrassed and she was super upset, which I think anyone would be, Ariana, like, put her arm around her and walked her off the stage. You know what? I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Ariana Grande as an actual, like, person, because I've heard from many people who have worked with her or had brushes with her that she is highly unpleasant and very entitled, and she's not warm at all. But I can really appreciate, like, woman to woman, how she handled that moment, and I thought that was quite lovely. And, Nicki looked great, obviously. Then Diddy came out, and it was really cool to see him. And he had someone with him, and forgive me, I can't remember his name. I think they were definitely a little intoxicated, as one would be at Coachella. But you know what? They came out, they were on time, their mics were on, they were ready to go, and they were having a lot of fun. And, they were dressed that, so fine. You want to be a little tipsy? That's totally fine. But yeah, she
That's
was
the only way to get through to Coachella.
Exactly. So she was only supposed to do a set for 45 minutes, but it ended up being like an hour and a half, and there were two different like fireworks shows during it. I watched the whole thing. Adriana and I we stayed up until 3:45 in the morning and watched the entire thing, and it was just fabulous. You guys are gonna have to watch it. She does 4 different costume changes. I really liked how she went through all of her songs. I was impressed with it. It made a lot of sense, the way that she went through her different hits, and it was sort of cohesive, and one very seamlessly flew. Oh my God. What am I looking for? Slid.
You're so drunk right now, Sam.
Yeah, as I drink my seltzer water. Yeah.
Take a drink.
What flowed. There we go. One flowed right into the next, and it was just a fabulous performance. Aurora, people in the UK, what is your impression of Coachella goers?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
That is a good question. I feel like I'm a bit more involved because, I'm half American and my family lives in California. My cousin went to Coachella, so I'm a bit more kind of involved in that scene. But I really don't think anyone here in the UK gives a shit, to be completely honest. I really do not think.
I barely give a shit. I don't care.
No, I feel like
yeah.
They're more interested in maybe like Glastonbury or all the festivals that go on here in the UK. But Coachella is really not on their radar. Just because it's like Uber California, and not even California. It's like Uber Palm Springs if you're like rich and have $2,000 to like throw on a VIP tent. It's like, I can't relate to that.
And what even is the VIP experience? Is it worth it? Aren't they? And I'm pretty sure, it's 2,000. You're right. But then there's another one that's like super VIP that's $10,000 a person.
Yeah, those are those are like cabanas though, like right by the stage. I mean, nothing is worth it for me to stand around other people that I hate so much and pay $10,000 to do that.
It's like the successful Fire Festival.
I was just gonna say, it's like. Except
speaking of the Fire Festival, did you guys watch those documentaries?
I love them.
I watched them. Yeah, me too.
Man, oh man, what a mess. And what's funny is when you watched that guy who came up with all of it and his interview, it was like there was no remorse at all. There was just nothing. And what's even sadder was his girlfriend being like, yeah, I love him. Like, what? And then his mother being like, yeah, he's always been high energy. And I'm thinking, why is no one in his life going, hey, wait a minute, wait.
Well, this is like Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. Like, that's what I don't understand. It's like the day that the show comes out, right? Or the day the product launches, and it's not going to work. What are you saying to yourself? For me, I could never let it go that far.
No.
It's insane. It's insane.
With the amount of money these people spent as well, like they flew out to this island and
exactly.
It was, and my issue was, okay, Fire Festival's over. It was like the worst shit show known to man. You go home, you're on probation, you're going through all these legal malarkey, whatever. Right. You then find an apartment in the middle of nowhere and start doing the same thing. Like he was selling all these tickets to people, and it's like, are you gonna stop though? Like
he has a scam in prison right now.
Yeah.
Like a music thing in prison. I'm just like, okay, so clearly he's like mentally, I don't even know what the word is, but it's like it's having like a dose of reality.
Yeah, it's like Jussie Smollett. It's like Donald Trump. Like, forgive me, here's my opinion. It's like you look at those three people and you're like, wait. What are you doing? You know that what you're doing is wrong. You know that it's going to hurt people. You know it's going to make no sense. And you also know that it's going to completely ruin your reputation or your credibility forever. And you're just going to do it anyway. All right, cool. Like balls to the wall.
I don't know if I actually don't know if that's what he thought. Like, I don't know if he even had the wherewithal to say like, yeah, this is going to ruin my reputation. Like, because if he actually thought that, then why? Like, there was nothing for him to gain unless he canceled that thing. Like, there was absolutely no gain. He knew it was going to fail. So if he was so concerned with himself, like, why didn't he just cancel it? That's what I don't understand. I feel like he said no. He had no like he just doesn't read other people. I don't know, like an insecure narcissist. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. Oh,
Maybe
I think
it's
that's a good one.
maybe it's just the idea of going down with your ship instead of admitting that you failed is more
Right, I'm
appealing
in this
to
far
him.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
can't back
you
out now.
failed so bad, but you've gotten kind of a rush from it. So then he'll continue to do it. It's like a con man or a con artist. They continue
Right.
doing it until they get caught and put in prison. But then they still have that urge. They still have that rush, you know?
Right.
It's
That's why I'm
nuts.
like, I don't even know if he has the capacity to say what I did was wrong. I feel like he just has the
No.
capacity to say I just got caught.
No,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
only thing that he admitted to, or not even admitted to, the only things that he would acknowledge is like, this one teeny tiny little component probably wasn't the best, or this other little teeny tiny part of this probably wasn't the best, but there was no, this was wrong. There was no, I knew this was nothing. It was just crazy. But anyways, all right. So let's, you know what? We need to talk about Daryn for a second. So you've just started Tiny Talk Show, which I think, first of all, I want to know, like, whose idea was this? Was this your idea? Like, what team did you pull in? How are you producing this thing? I love it.
Thank you so much. It's actually me and my partner, Alex Diaz. He used to work at Bravo. And we actually came up with the idea about 5 years ago because we were trying to find a better way to do red carpet interviews. You know, I was doing so many for Bravo, and like I would have to ask, like, what are you wearing? And it got kind of boring, and I just thought that was an uninteresting question. So we were like, what could we do that's like a fun we used to play games on the carpet, and be like, what's a fun game that we could do, and blah blah blah. And sort of it evolved into this Tiny Talk Show, and it took about 5 years. He moved out to LA. You know, we had kind of been building the set, figuring out what we wanted to do. And then when I was out in LA this last time for about a month with Andy before his son was born, we just like gang shot 5 or 6 episodes with fun, interesting people asking a fun question, and it really worked, and it was just so quirky. You know, I don't think any one of us thought that we were going to like reinvent the talk show. It's kind of hard to reinvent it, but make it look different. And so we had it's a little Between Two Ferns, a little 7 Minutes in Heaven, little Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Do you guys make the set yourself?
Yeah, he built that himself.
Oh my God, it's so
Right.
funny.
And he does all the prizes himself. So we actually give away small, tiny prizes to people, like a game show, you know, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your furniture set. And we have like a ton of games that we play, Lictionary and tons of basketball games, because you can really only play with your mouth. And, you know, it's also portable. So it was a way for celebs to come on that they wouldn't have to travel anywhere, and they don't have to worry about what they're going to wear.
I love it.
Exactly.
I'm really happy for you.
Thank you so much for everyone out there. Check it out at tinytalkshow.com.
I'm really happy for you guys. Yeah,
Thank
I love
you. It should be fun. It's just a creative outlet for us, and we're going to see where it goes.
And you also, I think, I love what you and John are doing on Martinis and Murder, because, of course, what you're talking about, you know, when you're interviewing people, of course, that's very serious. But what you're talking about on your typical shows, they are very serious topics, but I love that you're breathing life into it. And you're kind of like, Dan, your wife is here. I love that.
Thank you. It's
funny.
Thank you so much. I was talking about this the other night with my parents, because John and I just did a show at the Gramercy Theater for the Death Becomes Us Festival, and it's 400 people. You know, we sold it out, and I'm backstage, and normally I'm like very cool and calm and collected, and I was just like, it was a terrible case. It was called about Susan Cox Powell. If you don't know who Susan Cox Powell is, I really don't want to bring you guys all down with her story, but it's very tragic and involves the whole family. And essentially, I said to myself, like, how are we going to make this funny? I mean, this is brutal. It's a brutal murder. It involves multiple people. And, you know, you kind of weave ways into doing it. And that's what I like. That's what I like about John so much, is he's such a good, like, he's just so wholesome and sweet. And like making fun of him helps it to be funny without actually, obviously, no one wants to make fun of the murder and make fun of the victims. That's horrible. But we definitely want to breathe a little life into it. And Martinis and Murder was actually just mentioned in Cosmopolitan this month.
I know, I saw that.
We were very stoked about that. So it's a new challenge every single week.
Politics has been mentioned nowhere.
Well, it'll happen. We've been around a little bit longer.
No, I know. We're not
We've
worried
been doing
about
this for
it.
a few years. Yeah, don't worry about it. We've been doing this for a few years now.
I think that the approach that you and John have is really clever, and it's sort of like what we were doing before. Like, look, we don't wish Trump or Jussie Smollett or like any of these other assholes, the Fire Festival guy, like, we don't want them to like step in front of a bus. Of course not. But like, you do have to kind of poke fun, I think, sometimes at people's flawed logic, because how, and I love that you bring that into Martinis and Murder, because of course, like, murdering someone is never a good idea.
No, but like, it is sympathy for Ed Kemper, and I'll be like, well, I could see why he would kill these people, blah, 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 blah. And John's like, you are literally empathizing with a serial killer right now. I hope that you like it. I'm like, I'm totally aware I'm empathizing with a serial killer. Like, we have a good way about it. And I do think it gives women especially some sort of control over their lives, because it is so scary, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is. So talk to us about Andy and his beautiful little boy. So cute. I know that you probably see him a lot because, duh, Andy's your boss. His name's Benjamin, right?
His name is Benjamin. I call him Eggs and Benny.
Oh,
and he smiles. He's so cute. He's such a chunk. He loves to fart. This I've learned. I learned this last time. He loves to fart. He can rip some pretty good ones. And he always laughs at me, which is nice. And I just like tickle his stomach. And I'm not, for the record, I'm not into children. I'm not one of those women that's like, oh my God, I want a baby. Oh my God. No. I really don't have that valve flapping for me. Like, it's just not something that's switching on and off. But for some reason with that kid, I just love him. And I just want to like bite his cheeks all the time.
He is so
he really
cute.
Is. Andy's so lovely with him, and seeing like him hold Benny and have Waka come there and like lick the face. I was
going to ask, how is Waka with?
He's great. He's so great. Yeah, dogs have a really good stretch for empathy. He had like a really, really intense boot camp about 1.5 years ago, and he's been fantastic since then. No incidents. Good. And he's so sweet with Benny. He's really like a caregiver, like a big brother. And whenever I see the three together, I'm just like, these are my guys. This is my gang of guys right here.
So
my
cute.
Boys.
Does Andy ever bring him to work with him?
Yeah, we brought him a 1.5 weeks ago because we had to go through some stuff. So we brought him to work, and people were holding him and stuff. And it's really cute. The outpouring of love and just gifts, my God, has been incredible. And it really does take a village to take care of a child, rich or not. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. So I give it up to all the parents who do it.
That I think it was Anderson and Benny. That was a really cute picture.
I was right there when it happened. It was adorable.
And I'm just so glad. I'm really happy for Andy. I think that he took the time to build this unbelievable empire and surround himself with great people. And then, now he's got his little man, and that's just wonderful.
I think so too.
So is there anything else, whilst we have you here, is there anything else of yours that you would like to plug? What else do you have going on?
I do. Well, this is for only the Philly and San Francisco listeners. It's not coming till New York until the end of the year, but I co-host a CW Philly show, CW Philly in San Francisco, called Unplugged with Geraldo and Daryn. It's on select Saturdays during the month, 2 Saturdays during the month at noon in Philly and 1:30 in San Francisco. It's a lifestyle show. We get to interview people. It's really fun, very lighthearted. So I do that every month. And then the only other thing that I have going on, not the only other thing, but the other thing that I have going on is a few episodes left of my web series for Bravo called Bravo Pregame, where I interview all the Bravo lebs that come on Watch What Happens Live, and we sort of give you a preview of what's to come on that episode that week of Bravo. So exclusive interviews, exclusive clips. We talk exclusively to the Bravo lebs, and it's very fun. So you can check that out at bravotv.com/Bravo Pregame.
Cool. I have a web series called Noobs with Boobs.
I need to Skype in for that one.
No, I'll send you the link. It's only 3.5 minutes long. I want you to imagine me in real life, like how I am, but then like put into a video game. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
I'm into that, weirdly.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the link after this. But Daryn, thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to have you here.
Thank you for listening to my podcast, and I'm so happy you met Sam. She's a dream. And whenever you want to complain about her, you can always just slide into my
Oh, thank you.
Well, that's the thing people should know about you. You always respond to people that DM you.
Yes, I do. In fact, I co-host Taylor Strecker's show on her podcast every other week, and my thing is having people live DM me and reading them to like give them shout outs. And no other co-host does it, and it's just me. And I always try and respond to people. If they're willing to take the time for me, it's the least I can do to take the time for them.
Well, I love that mentality, and Daryn, I adore you. Thank you again so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Ladies, let's buckle up, though, because we've got Mike Kitlas coming at us hot and ready to go. We're going to be talking about everything that's going on with the Cardinals and a little bit of the scouting scandal. So stay tuned for It's Bro Time. Mike Kitlas! That's my new way of introducing you. Adriana and I have been saying it all week since I said it to you last week. How do you feel about it? It's like an
it's fine with me. It's a lot of screaming. So the next time I'm just gonna either make a noise to counteract it, or I'm just going to lower my microphone to a proper volume to where it sounds like a hello. How are you?
Would you like me to go back to the ASMR
Oh
whisper?
Christ, no.
Well, look, we've got a lot going on this week, but what I really want to talk to you about is the NFL draft. So Thursday night is round 1, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Friday night we've got round 2, 3, and so on and so on. So What's going on with the Raiders? Does no one trust anybody anymore? Is that the drift I'm catching?
It's a weird situation where John Gruden came out of retirement last year to sign a 10-year contract with the Raiders and basically weave himself into the front office. Been long friends with their owner, Mark Davis, and with their planned move to Las Vegas, they wanted to have him there as an integral piece to help build a perennial winning franchise.
Sure.
Now, I think the way things shaped out with Gruden kind of tearing down the roster, getting rid of Khalil Mack, and after the trade for Antonio Brown earlier this year.
I know him. He was on Dancing with the Stars. Thank you.
He sure was. But they are in a position where they have multiple first round picks, and the first round in the NFL draft is where you find your guys. This is where you find your guys who are going to make your immediate impact. You know, nobody's ever a sure thing. There's no such thing as a sure thing ever in life, except death, taxes, and the Philadelphia Eagles breaking my heart. But these are the guys that you know enough that there's a strong chance that they're going to be able to come in and make an impact immediately. There's always the miss. There's always people who, they look good on film. They played better in college, all that kind of good stuff. But with the instance of the first round for the Raiders, this is a chance for them to fully rebuild and to really get going. So the fact that they have 2 first-round picks this year, or I'm sorry, I lied to you. They have 3 first-round picks this year. It's an opportunity for them to get 3 guys on both sides of the ball that they can potentially get a quarterback, which the rumor might be that they trade up and get Kyler Murray. And I think that led to some dissension. I think the scouts and John Gruden and their GM, Mike Mayock, are not on the same page.
Yeah.
But I think Mayock and Gruden are. So in that instance, I think it's a funky situation that now.
Well, the Raiders just sent their scouts home. They're just like, you can go. So now it's just going to be Mayock and Gruden doing all of the grafting.
Right. And
Evans, the drafting.
There's always the chance. Yeah. Well, there's always the chance too that they could call them up and say, "Hey, guess what? We want you guys to come back. Like, sorry about that. Let cooler heads prevail." Having said that, though, there's the chance that doesn't happen. And even if they do call, I don't know if I'd go back knowing that my job might be on the line at the end of this. Like, I'm going to get fired at the end. Why am I going to lend my expertise?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, like, fool me once, fine. Fool me twice, then I'm a fool. I think when it's been, made very clear to you that, hey, we think that you're really valuable, but we can't give you any sort of guarantee that we're going to keep you around. You reach a certain age where you're like, okay, you're now screwing with my livelihood. I'm not going to lend my expertise. I'm not going to put in the effort to come back just so you can give me the boot again. That's very silly. So, all right, fine. Now, what do you think, the Cardinals, what do you think is going to happen with their first pick?
Yeah, up until the 11th hour last year, everyone believed that it was either going to be Sam Darnold or it was going to be Josh Allen going to Oakland. And instead, we ended up getting Baker Mayfield going there as the first pick. It was the predominant thought that Kyler Murray was going to go, that they were going to trade. So last year, the Cardinals drafted a gentleman out of UCLA by the name of Josh Rosen.
Yep.
They didn't exactly click, we'll say. Josh had a rough year. Granted, they didn't have a lot of stuff around him to really help him out too much. But
Sure.
At the same time, with a new coach coming in and kind of losing that luster of how things went last year, the predominant thought was they were going to trade Rosen for another pick, and they were going to draft Kyler Murray at that first spot. Apparently, though, that's not going to be the case.
Apparently.
Yeah, because out of nowhere, their GM came out today and kind of said, yeah, I don't really think that that's going to be the route that we go. And he's vehemently denied any other meetings, anything like that, that it's not going to be, it's not going to be Kyler going one, which this is such a deep draft in the instance that of the first 10 picks, 7 of them are defensive linemen, that it's not a quarterback draft beyond Kyler. I mean, Dwayne Haskins played great, but I don't think he's going to be the answer.
Who do you think is going to be the answer?
I mean, the kid out of Duke, Daniel Jones, he's got the build for it, but that just means he's a 6'4" to 6'7" white quarterback who can throw the ball. Like, that's all that means when they say that a guy has.
It's kind of like you.
Yeah, except minus
plus
about
2
5
inches.
inches.
No,
right.
Dude, you're 6 feet tall, aren't you?
Nah, 5'11".
No, you're not.
5'11", but I'm taller when I stand on my wallet.
You've already made that joke, Mike.
Oh, did I?
Do it again.
All right, whatever.
No,
anyway,
it's good. All right.
but yeah, so that's
shady.
Yeah, that's
stuff, man. That's
this
nuts.
It's at the point though too where like somebody had previously said that Josh Rosen, who of course was drafted last year, is the 4th best quarterback in this draft this year. So it's not something that it's not far-fetched to think that a team could call the Cardinals and say, hey, we want Rosen in the first pick, or hey, we want Rosen, we'll give you another first-round pick. Like, there's draft day is a great day where anything in the world can happen. There are some great trades that always happen the day of, but this is a deep defensive draft, and I really think that that's what the Cardinals are going to do. I would be surprised if Murray goes first. That's what I'm really thinking.
Okay, all right. Well, next week we've got the Kentucky Derby. Do you have any favorites picked out already? Do you go to a Kentucky Derby party?
I was going to say my favorite is the mint julep. Yes. No, I do love Derby Day. Derby Day is always fun. There's plenty of fun activities no matter where you look. Make sure you get out and look around for a nice party and get yourself a nice big hat, because it's a fun time.
Well, if you feel like coming out to the country, I'd love to have you. I'm visiting my folks, and we have a Kentucky Derby party every year. And every year, 3 people go home very rich. So, you could thicken up your wallet, so to speak, and stand on it and be even taller.
If there are real horses to ride, I'm in, because that's what I'm going to do.
Well, my house that my parents live in was a horse stable back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So I have 3 cats. You can ride one of them. But
I don't think that'll work out well. Right. And I don't think that would work out well for the cats or anyone involved, really. Let's be real.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you very much for this super quick rundown. Really appreciate it. Once again, babe, it's you and me closing out the episode. We're getting good at this.
I know. It's almost really like we planned it.
Well, I appreciate this. And then I think, I don't know what the heck's going on next week, but I really want to have you on for a longer segment next week, because we need a little more Kitlas in our lives. And you've been doing such a good job. You can follow Mike at Mike IBT on Instagram, and you can also follow his show, which is its.bro.time. on Instagram. So thank you so much for tuning in to Dicks and Politics and It's Bro Time. We love having you with us every Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else. You can learn more about us at whateveryousayproductions.com. Once again, my name is Samantha.
And my name is Mike.
And you've just listened to
Dicks and Politics.
Very nice, babe. Very nice. Thanks so much, Mike. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Dicks and Politics, fresh, digestible content straight from millennials. You can learn more at dicksandpolitics.com.